Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Take TV podcast. My name is Zeno. We are going to be reviewing the round 5 for Supercoach. As we need always is George. How are you, buddy?
When is it going to end, Eno? All these value picks kicking our ass every week. Can't take it anymore. Let's get him in now. But anyway, I'm going okay. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. Missed a few games again this weekend with the Easter weekend. So we'll need you guys to tell me what happened on Sunday, but we'll get to that in a sec. I'm sure JD watched a lot of the Dons game, so we'll welcome him in. JD, how are you?
Mate, I've gone worse than George. This is by far been the worst week of the year. And actual football team is crap. Supercoach team is crap. I was dad of the year this weekend because, Jesus, football was giving me no satisfaction.
Yeah, well, my team lost as well, so George could probably get into me for that a little bit later. But we'll run through the agenda. So the DPPs are added, which is nice. Probably the big change this year. So they're in, and then we'll have to start, discussing how we move our team around, how we use those boosts as well. So we'll talk about that. The rookies to cut, who's going to make way. Some big decisions to make there. Mid prices as well. Then the primos, of course, who we're going to be bringing in. And then, of course, we ended up with the captaincy and vice captaincy. But we'll quickly run through our rounds. I think you probably get how some of us went already. But I scored 2,196, which I thought was okay around par, but it ended up not being too great. So, look, I still moved up a few thousand spots to 25K because, that's what happens when you're that low ranked. You can still move up with an under par score. But, yeah, so not the best week. But, hopefully the trades and stuff can move us forward. George, how did you go?
Better. I went up from 34K to 29K. Hip hip hooray. And yes, 2202 I scored. Bloody Aaron Hall. Why did I bring him in? Hurt. Cripps I held. Fielded Rochelle for him, but did field Noddy and Jack Hayes. So you win some, you lose some. How'd you go, JD?
Yep, just L's for me this week. I did not field either of the rookie 100s, which hurt my score pretty badly. Also held Cripps at 2051, which dropped me 12,000 ranks. I'm sitting just inside the top 20,000. So I think I'm still the highest ranked of the three of us, but I feel the worst about my team still. So I'm a live kill waiting to be caught.
Yeah, look, there's still not major points between, these sort of 10 to 20 odd K ranks, but yeah, look, I think the people at the very top are starting to make a bit of a gap. So obviously they're the ones we want to chase.
I think I'll overtake JD on Anzac Day when Lipinski's best on ground against Essendon.
Oh, look, yeah, I actually could be happy for you if that happens, but yeah, I don't think it will.
Well, look, good segue, George. We'll move to probably the first topic, and the big topic this week is the DPPs. We'll get to Lip later, but we'll start defense, and we've put down just the relevant ones. Like there was like 50 odd that got it. Pretty much most of them are relevant, but there's always a few relevant ones in the first instance of it. So we'll read the defender ones. We got Scott Pendlebury, who is averaging quite well to start the year. Dane Zorko actually similar, but he's got those injury concerns. And then Nick Dacos as a rookie got defender status. Boys, who stands out there of the bunch, probably besides Dacos, but did Pendles or Zorko tickle your fancy as a sort of defender option?
Not really. I don't mind Pendles. Zorko is still limping a fair bit mid-game. I don't want to bring in an injured player. Can't really afford to. So Zorko is do not touch for sure. In the short, medium term, I know he killed us. He killed us last year. He really did. I don't want to talk about that, but if he's playing sore, you can't bring him in. Surely not. And then Pendles is scoring well. Pendles' durability was pretty immense for a very long time. He's picked up a few things here and there over the past few years. Played more on bowl to tag Neil this week. Still scored okay, though. So, look, I love Pendles. It would be pretty cool owning Pendlebury maybe one last time. So I don't see myself bringing either of these players in. And then Dacos, I'll hold to the end of the buys.
JD, the same?
I'm probably more interested in Zorko than George, just because, I remember vividly him killing us all of last year. And I don't know, this year's been silly enough that could happen again, right? So yeah, like he's had 3 100s, like a 116, a 105, and then a 133 last week, with the 52 mixed in the middle, and that was against the Geelong side where he was having some setbacks. I think he ended up with only like 65% time on ground, something like that. The thing that makes him interesting is just that he's priced at like sub 520k, which is a really attractive price point. I think personally for my team, I've already got 5 premium defenders. I'm probably not bringing in the 6 until much later on in the season because Dacos can go there, as George kind of mentioned. I'd rather bring in premium mids and players in other positions. But I think if you are looking for a discounted player for the back line, Zorko's shown he has the scoring, like as recent as last year. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it wasn't in that role as the only problem, but I'd be somewhat interested, probably more so than Pendles. Pendles has just been thrown around a little bit too much. He got more midfield time again, I think. Wasn't he second behind Degoe in terms of midfield? So some halfback, some midfield, and then the injury concerns as well. I don't know. I think, and he's like 15k more expensive. I think of the two, I'd probably look more to Zorko, but neither for me at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's the same. Like, there's a lot of other attractive options we'll talk about later, but just the age and injury factor for these two guys. Like, they're both actually playing really well. Like, Zorko's use off halfback is really nice, and Pendle's just, I don't know, the man doesn't age. He was still hitting like insane inside 50-meter kicks all night, but that's what he's done for his career. But yeah, age and injury just sort of put me off these guys. Look, midline, there's not really anyone relevant, since we all want to bring in the big dog mids that will be, top 8 to 10 by the end of the year, and they've already got the mid status. You could argue, Nick Martin's relevant. Butter's got it. Heaney missed out. So, you might be able to swing with those guys, but not really relevant as to people, we'll look to bring in. Then the ruck line, we've got Cherry, who got the ruck status as suggested. I don't think we really need to speak much about him. We should all have him by now. And, would you probably can't with all the ruck options, field him at R2. So you'll probably sit in your forward line still for a bit. But forward line's really where, it's the main one. That's where all the interest is. Who gets forward status, who could become, a top 6 to 8 forward. And I've got some names here that possibly could. And Luke Parker's one. George will be smiling about Lipinski. I know he doesn't have Libba here, but I believe he got it as well. And then George has got maybe Bont down at, round 12 if he continues to play that forward time. But yeah, who do you want to speak about here, George? You can go for Lipinski if you want. Do you think he can be top 8 forward?
I do apologize. Lipinski probably gets more airtime here than on any Collingwood podcast. But he was so underwhelming in round 4 in the midfield. They gave him 0 CBAs this week, and he got forward status. So
bench time.
Oh my goodness! Well, I don't know what that was about, but he's scoring okay. Like last 3, 93 average, been scaled down a lot, which I've noticed. Just made a few errors late in games, which really hurt him. They've been scaled down a total of 20 points over 3 games, but who's counting? I don't think I'd bring him in. Is he top 6? I think it's unlikely. I don't think it's out of the realms, but he needs to recapture the form he had in round 1. So I'm still not sure if that's an outlier or not. As every week goes by, it feels closer to an outlier, but I have him. I'm holding. Would I bring him in? Probably not. The role isn't like he's not getting any CBAs, but he still starts half forward, straight in the midfield, no wing or anything like that. So he had a good fourth quarter. But yeah, I probably wouldn't bring him in. I think it was nice if you have him for 350k, see where it takes you. But I wouldn't bring him in. The role is just not as good as others in the forward line. So, and then Luke Parker. Again with Parker, I don't know how much time he's going to spend forward. I've owned him in the past, and it is not a fun experience. It's good for 3 weeks. It's terrible for 3 weeks. He's a bit like that. So I'm not interested. Parker is probably more relevant than Lipinski. I am not interested, though. I think I have 7 forwards at the moment anyway, so I'm not too fussed. So what do you reckon, JD? And then also just quickly, Libba, probably not. Durability, not super great,
Yeah.
but okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Libba, I'm sure we've talked about this in past. Something would have to happen in the Dogs midfield where he all of a sudden gets the CBAs he was getting last year, which just isn't happening. So I think that one's pretty easy to say no to at the moment, although he did have a slight uptick in the week just gone. Parker, they're definitely using more forward as they rotate other people through the midfield. And for me, I just don't think he's going to score high enough. So he's at least priced pretty well at 480. I just think the problem is that De Goey is like $3,000 cheaper this week and is a player I'd rather have with more CBAs than Parker and like bigger part of their midfield. So yeah, I don't know. For me, Parker just like really isn't that interesting at all. Yeah, I can't see myself touching him.
Yeah, fair enough. And then the Bont factor, I mean, he was close. I think at like half time, we're probably all thinking he was going to get it. He was playing literally full forward for the first half, but thrown into the mids the second half and just missed out. But I guess if it does continue, it might be a possibility he gets it in round 12, but I just can't see him getting that. Like, he's got to be in the midfield. Like, I almost won a Brownlow last year playing midfield. I know they've got a lot of forward problems, and that's why, they're sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul, but I don't know. Do you think he can play enough forward for another 6 rounds, George, to get it?
Well, there was
By the way, does it start from now again, or is it added on?
I think it's full season. Well, Bont, there was an article saying they want to play Bont more forward this week from the man himself, Luke Beveridge, who can be always trusted with these information. So it's possible. I think it's something you can assess down the line. Look, depending on how Brody goes over the next, I think most people have Brody, but you can maybe flip him. I have Lipinski. Maybe I can flip him to Bont in the last buy round. Also, Hunter is out. So does that mean Baz plays wing half forwardish? I'm not sure. That's an interesting one. So keep an eye on that. Asking me to predict what Bevo is going to do, it's not possible. Just hope for the best.
Yeah.
I'm not going to plan for it, because if he's playing forward, he'll still be top 6 forward, but his scoring is going to take a bit of a hit, probably like 110-ish. Still good though, but it's good value forwards at the moment.
Before we move on to rookies and then primos, probably should swing back to Dacos, because look, I glossed over him, but he still is someone that, what's he averaging, 87, 88 at the moment, and how, could we sit him at D6 for most of the season, or do you think, he will start to sort of regress a little bit? And look, it obviously won't be top 6, I don't think, and you'll have to eventually upgrade him. But how long do you envisage JD will be in our sides for?
Sorry, who?
Nick Dacos at D6.
Oh, Dacos. I think he's the last rookie that we're going to move on, unless something happens where he drops a odd 20 or 30. I just think he's the rookie that I'm most confident fielding week in, week out. Probably even more so than Nick Martin, who'd be the only other one that's really up there in consideration for that level of safety at the moment.
Yep.
On Dacos, so this is similar to what happened with Sam Walsh a few years ago when we had him as a rook. So basically we're like, okay, we're just going to hold Sam Walsh through the buys. It'll be great. And then all of a sudden, like round 9, round 10, his break even crashed and it was in the 400s. And people are like, well, I can just get a bid now. I think he went like 140 in one of the buy rounds or something like that. So from memory. So I think the temptation will be there to move him on, especially when you want your Jack Steele, you want Clayton Olivers and whatnot. So in the midfield, and he's probably one of your tickets to get there. I'll try and resist. We'll see how he goes, but I think he's top in fantasy. He's like top 8, top 6 defender at the moment anyway. So averaging 87 here. I would like to get other rookies off the field before Dacos. So I'll try and hold strong and hold him through the buys. So I think that'll be a nice switch. But yeah, he can't be keeper, I don't think, because we have enough defenders going 105.
Yep.
So should be at least like 15 points a game if you get a primo from Dacos.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot different in Supercoach. So look, we'll move on to the rookies then that people might be looking to cut, or rookies type mid-pricer prices. So we'll start in defense again. So we got Paddy Mccarten, who I think the week before dropped to 50 because of that slight concussion and whatnot, and then this week came out with another 68. Look, his role's just solid, and he gets a little bit more involved than other key defenders do in sort of the rebounding. So, look, what do you guys reckon? Would you be against or for someone trading out McCarten this week if that's all they had, or would you hold strong, JD?
So break even of 29. I think a decent matchup against the Hawks. I'd be willing to hold him. If we weren't trading Hinge, who missed a week at 4K more, I don't see why we would trade McCarten, who's shown that he has the ceiling to spike like a decent score and continue that cash gen. So yeah, I don't know. I think he's a hold. Most people should have at least one or two other options that are better to trade this week, whether it be someone like a Bowie, a Horn Francis, or a Rao.
Yep.
I think the dilemma is this week is someone has to go because we want primo mids now, and they are going to go early. So is McCarten the one? I wouldn't be the end of the world if you got rid of him. I think he can get to low 300s, so probably hold for now. So yeah, I'm happy to hold. If we weren't in a hurry to get these primos in, like he's 100% a hold, but people entertaining the idea.
I think Hinge probably doesn't need to be talked about by all of us. He looks to be set to return this week. Look, I'm not, I think I said in my video, not the biggest fan of the matchup and the ground and the playing down at Ballarat. I think, I don't want to remind us, but I think most defenders last year were poorly there, and we can
Caleb
recall
Daniel.
one small man that burnt us all. But yeah, so look, I still want to hold him though. His role's great, and when he gets back to a good oval and ones that aren't blowing a gale, then I think he can make another 100K. So I don't think he's gone anywhere. Big one's Jason Horne-Francis. I've seen a lot of people sort of turfing him. Not the greatest performance on the weekend. Would you guys be trading out the Hornet?
I don't want to, but I'm going to. That's probably the best answer I can give you. Yeah, just trying to get rookies off the field. He scored 39 against the Dogs, probably the hardest midfield matchup. North were really, really bad. North's fixture isn't very kind either, upcoming. I think Horne-Francis will bounce back, probably scores 80 this week, makes a bit more money. Roll is still pretty solid, but if I want a Petrarca or Oliver, unfortunately, he has the most money tied into him. That's the most expendable. So I'm not super comfortable getting rid of Horne-Francis, but at least I will have a 600K mid in his place. So can it really go that bad if you have a big dog mid now? Hopefully not. So, yeah, yes, but I don't want to. That's the answer.
What do you think, JD?
I think that's right. Like, I'm probably holding him as the right move for a lot of people that can. But if you are looking to move pieces this week to upgrade to, English, Petrarca, or whoever else we'll talk about shortly, then he does seem more expendable. I mean, it's not going to be someone like a Dacos or a Berry. And I don't think, someone like a Cherry is the right option. I think Rochelli's the right option this week just because he's got a very low break even. So it looks like it's Horne-Francis, even though I think over the next 4 to 5 games, he's probably going to come good just given the amount of CBAs he's getting. But yeah, with a 39 in his rolling average and then games against Geelong and Carlton over the next couple of weeks, that says to me that like he's probably only going to make another 10 to 20K over the next 2 weeks. And so if you think you'd trade him within the next 3 weeks normally anyway, then there's no reason not to go on him now. But if he's someone that you think you're going to hold much longer than that, then yeah, maybe you can hold him. So I think it's more just because the 39 is going to really hamper his cash generation in the short term, which is probably when you're going to trade him. It's the same reason why I was kind of for trading Bowie last week, because even though he made his break even and kind of made a little bit of cash. He's still got the same break even this week, and you're in the same situation. So yes, you got the points on field, which is good, but you're not getting any extra cash gen. And so if it's someone that you're looking to move on anyway, you may as well move on now if you know they're going to stall for the next couple of weeks. And I think that's the situation we're in with Horne-Francis. He's probably going to make another 50 to 80K more across the next 10 weeks. But if you were realistically going to trade him in the next 3 weeks anyway, you may as well do it now.
Yeah, look, it's just a gamble. Look, he was not as bad as the 39 suggests.
Correct.
Like,
Totally
he's
agree.
still got 18 touches, 9 clangers. It's just the killer. I think he had a few handball clangers early. He had that set shot that he kicked on the full. And then when you get pumped, like it doesn't help. So I don't have to trade him, which is a luxury to have. But yeah, as you guys said, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to be trading him. It's just he still has a good score in him. It's just you're just hoping he doesn't produce it too soon. Some other rookies,
Sorry, just like a pretty important thing this year is we are getting a lot of cash generation out of our rookies. I feel like for the most part, like, Hayes, Martin, Rochelle, Horne-Francis, Dacos, it feels like more so than other years we've been getting a lot of cash generation, plus a lot of the mid prices have worked out, which doesn't always happen as well. And so that means it's probably not as important as it has been in other years to try and like exactly trade out someone at the top price. But instead trading them out a little bit earlier just so you can more aggressively upgrade and start banking those points from better premiums earlier. And Horne-Francis is the one that's in the best situation to do that this week of the rookies, which is, why he's in that boat. But I think almost every other year you wouldn't be trading Horne-Francis in this situation. It's just... It's a victim of circumstance.
I think before we mention the others, we should actually, one that's not down here is Jared Berry, because I think a few people still have him. I know George, you got rid of him, but me and JD still have him. His break even is still quite low at 20 something, I believe, and it's
37.
37. Okay, so he's just been pumping out 70s. You can't really get on and get a ton, but it's more that shoulder. When you watch him play, you're just a little bit nervous that can set him back and put him out of a game, because look, he's soldiering on and he's still putting on pressure and tackling and stuff, but it really does look to be affecting him. So look, I assume we're holding on JD. I don't think anyone would be trading him. He's still got a very fairly low break even, but what's your thoughts on him?
I think he's one bad game away from becoming a must trade. So if he puts up like a 40 or something like that, then you're going to have to trade him out that week just because it's going to ruin his cash generation. But I hope he can keep ticking away, just because over the next 5 weeks, it's Gold Coast, Swans, West Coast, Adelaide, and then Hawks. So really 4 out of those 5 matchups are quite nice. So as long as he doesn't drop one of those stinkers, I think he could get up to even as high as 450 if he spikes a good game. So a fair bit of cash generation left in him. But I think it's going to be a little bit like some of these others where, maybe he does like a 70 next week. His break even gets up to about 60 or whatever. And it's like, there's more cash to make in him, but he's close enough to the top that you can move him on if it means getting in a good player that week. So I could see him kind of going anywhere from next week to like 5 weeks from now, depending on how the fixture and other rookies play out.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll let George speak about the next one. Gold Coast. 9 Brownlow votes in the first 3 games. Looked to be the next big thing. Matty Rao just hasn't come together after a really impressive round 1. It's just been disappointing. He just can't get his, he had 30 touches, I think, in that round 1, and he really hasn't gone close since. So, George, what have you seen with Rao in the last couple of weeks?
I don't know whose fault this is. Like, is Rao just playing bad? Is he like injured? Is he the role? I don't know exactly what's going on. Pre-season and round 1, he was pretty good, and now he's looking like last year's Rao. So basically, watching him at stoppage, he mans up on whoever. So I think this game was mostly Steele and a bit of Brad Crouch, and he just focuses a bit too much on his man and not the ball, I think, and he's just second to the ball all the time. I don't know what's happened here. I don't know if it's just a defensive role. He doesn't spread as well. Like, you just watch Took and Anderson spread really well. He does not spread. Like, the ball exits the contest, and he's, a few meters behind the others. So, I don't know. He looks lost in the midfield. So, I am trading him for sure, just because his break-even's 100. He could come out and look like the round 1 Rao, or he could come out and look like the row of the past month. I think it's more likely the row of the last month comes out. So he's a one I'll happily trade this week. So I don't know what's happened. He was looking like borderline keeper potential to, well, he's put some good points on the board at least. I think he's still averaging 90 something. So wasn't a failed starting pick, but just we wanted more. And yeah, I have no idea if they've coached out. The coach has been in his head too much or whatever. I'm not sure what's happened, but I don't like what I see, and he's gone.
Agree the same, JD, or not much more to add?
Yeah, I mean, like he's made 60K, he's average 92. In most years, it's not a win, but it's like at least not a failure either. It just feels like a failure this year because there are so many mid prices that have popped off. But yeah, it's really weird. I wonder if he's re-aggravated the groin or something like that. It's
I was thinking that.
It's so strange to see him go from someone that in the 2 preseason games in the first game was basically hunting the ball, winning everything, throwing himself like to be on the bottom of the pack and be first to it. And yeah, to George's point, it's like reactive. It's I don't know if this is some coaching thing on the defensive side of his game. To me, that can't be it. It's just you had one of the best ball winners in the league and you've turned him into the shadow of himself, if that's what your coaching technique is. So I don't know. To me, it just probably is a groin re-aggravation and he's going at 75, 80%. But yeah, he's a must trade. We're talking about, we got to start getting rid of these people to get our premiums. And he is one where his break even is 103 now. So it's actually above his average. He lost $200 this week, which is basically was flat. He's just the obvious one to move on and in a lot of teams. So yeah, given he's at 400K and it's only 180, 200K to kind of that you need to put on to get him up to someone good, then got to go.
Yep, I think he's absolutely all but gone from my team this week. So it's disappointing to see. We all do love watching him play, but he just hasn't come together and just can't find the ball enough. Like he's only getting you 16, 17, 18 touches, and it's just not enough when that's all he's doing. All right, we'll move on. We'll go down to some forward rookies. I think if we could quickly speak about Josh Ward, I think he turned the corner on the weekend. He had some bad moments, no doubt, watching him play, but I think the last quarter was pretty promising in a close game. He used the ball well under pressure, but there is going to be those moments. But I don't think he's someone you just flick if you've held on now. Like he still has a role. He still had over 20 CBAs. He was in amongst the midfield. So I'm totally, don't have to field him. I totally get that. That's what I wanted to avoid this week. But he could get to 300K now. Just the role's there. So I don't know if you guys have anything more to add on Ward, but I don't think you'd be trading him if you held on to him.
So the one thing I was going to say is like when we're talking about Rao, Ward was the other player that comes to mind that I looked on the weekend and it just said like, what has happened to him? Because what I've seen as a junior and even in some of the preseason games to what was happening in the last couple of weeks, it just looked like he'd lost his ability to play on instinct. And then he found it again in the fourth quarter. And I'm not sure if that's just because it's like fourth quarter games on the line. You kind of do whatever you need to do and stuff like structure, and that goes out a little bit out of the window. Like, so you're forgetting what the coach is talking to you about and you're just playing how you know how to play the game. So that's the part that worries me because like the fourth quarter was good. Hopefully they tell him like, hey, whatever you're doing in the fourth, go out and do that. Like forget everything else we're teaching you. But I just don't think that's going to be the case. Like there's going to
still
be
have bad moments.
Structure in the system. The most promising thing was that obviously last week he dropped a lot of his CBA. So I think he'd gone from he'd gone from 73% in round 3 to 18% in round 4, and then they put him back up to 75%, which was tied with Newcomb, which is really promising, especially in a win. And like, yeah, I mean, props to Sam Mitchell. He's blooding youth in that midfield and they're getting wins out of it. So I think they'll persist with it. It's just, can they coach him to keep playing like the fourth rather than what we saw in quarters 1 to 3?
What did you see, George? You traded him out, right, for O'Driscoll?
I wanted to hold because like the writing was on the wall. He had to come good at some point because the signs were there. It's just a matter of time. I was patient, waited 4 rounds. I didn't want to field him, so I think I got an extra 30 points by bringing Brody in. But yeah, he's fine to hold for now. I think he's probably expendable in a few weeks. Still just depends on how he goes. So I think you definitely hold. You could trade if you needed to trade somebody. I think he showed he could have easily scored 90 that game. Just it's part of his game though. He just makes a lot of bad errors.
Keep happening.
He dropped a mark inside 50. Could have kicked a snag. That's like
he got done holding the ball straight up.
That's a 25-point swing. I think he lost 11 points for that. So yeah, it's I don't want him anywhere near I wouldn't want him on the field. So that was main reason why I traded. But see how he goes. He's shown some good signs, shown some bad signs. Keep him on the bench. See how he goes.
Yep, I think we'll quickly do one last rookie here, one that you guys own, then I don't. But Josh Rochelle, who I think I was watching the game, was mostly missing until the fourth quarter, where I think that's just in his blood. Does what he does, pops up, kicks a goal, and kicks another one late when the game was sort of already done. But for most of the game was pretty much unsighted. So look, he's not going anywhere. What's his break even, JD? You said it before. I think it's 6. Yeah. So it's like he's obviously not going anywhere.
Yeah, he's got the 100 from last week and he's rolling average. So which just for one more week. So break even is 6 for this week. I think even if he scores well, just because he's coming off now 49, he's going to have a pretty high break even next week. So looks like one that you might move on next week for, I don't know, around 300K, unless he spikes another big score and gets that break even low again. I just see that as pretty unlikely given that they're up against the Dogs this week.
Yep. Anything more, George? Or...
With these rookies, it's interesting. I remember having Callum Wilkie a few years ago, and I held him for 16 weeks, and he got to 380K. He only averaged 70 odd, but these guys can get to mid 300s, like Horn Francis and Rochelle. They'll get there. It's just similar boat. We need, I want to get Tim English. I think he's probably going to keep going up in price. So, it's. You need to get these guys off the field. You need to upgrade your team fast. You need to grab points. It's just a very fast-paced game this year. More trades, more value everywhere. Cash gen's insane, as JD was saying before. So I'm happy to let him go for 300 odd. But if I don't have to get rid of him, I'll more than happily hold him an extra few weeks. But another one where I don't really want him on my field because I don't know if I'm going to get 100. I don't know if I'm going to get 40. So... yeah, yep. I might let him go probably 2 weeks. We'll see see his break even, but this week is definitely a hold, and then go from there.
The big scores are in him. We've seen 2 of them in the first 5 rounds, and he can easily do one of them again. So we'll move on because this next section probably will have a lot of us talking, and that is the ruck. So who we're bringing in, and then we'll just start with the rucks because I tweeted it the other day. This year is just ruck simulator. There is so many relevant rucks. It is not even funny.
Can we just talk about? No. We need to talk about the big man. The big man.
Yeah, we
dominated.
will. We'll get to him. But literally, right. The relevant rucks: Gawn, Grundy, the big man, Witts, English, Jackson to an extent, Cherry, Jack Hayes, Hugh Dixon, Bruce, and now Sam Hayes, who debuted. And look, I put BJ Williams there, but I don't really want to speak about him on this podcast. Sean Darcy, I actually didn't watch the game, which is the most funny part about this. I held the man for 5 weeks and I couldn't even watch it because I was out for Easter Sunday with the family. But you two watched the game. How did the big man look?
He was so fun to watch. I was just thinking, I wish Eno was watching this. He could have kicked 4 goals. He was clunking marks. He was around the ground. He did the celebration. It was the full package.
Mate, this game is meant to be fun after all, and that's the reason I was honestly held him. But
there was nothing fun about that game at all. That game was the first half was all right, and then it was garbage after that. Now, you're not going to like what I'm going to say.
You guys aren't bringing him in. I know.
I didn't think he was that good. And so the only reason I'll say that was when the game was pretty close and contested for the first half, I don't think he scored that well. I'm not sure if we can bring up off.
Pretty sure you guys said he didn't touch the ball for ages. He was just
he was non-existent in the first quarter. The second quarter, I think he started coming to life, and that was when the game was still close. And then when Essendon got blown open in the third and fourth, that's when he did a lot of his scoring. And he was kicking the goals as kind of George was talking about. So like that's the only like reservation I'd have as a Darcy. And obviously like as a great score and like I guess like well deserved for holding him as long as you have. But yeah, that's the only reservation, which is he was playing up forward, I thought, a fair bit, and
late
wasn't getting in. I don't know, but Essen was just so bad. It's one of those games where it's really hard to get a read on, is this him turning the corner and being really good, or is it just like the other team slacking so much that anyone can look like a star on a given week? Like Brody or Driscoll or Darcy, all these bums that just look good because they're not in my team. Yeah. Lipinski this week. Yeah. Hold Grundy. He's going like, if Darcy went 120, what's Grundy going this week? 150 again, right? Far out. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just more upset at Essen than anything else. I don't know. I was when he started like taking ridiculous marks, I was like, oh, at least Enno's getting something out of this game.
I wasn't even freaking watching. It's all right. I watched the KO mini. I had to. I think we should move on to probably the bigger topic, and that's Brodie Grundy, because he's probably the most owned ruckman for all of us, and he's the most traded out ruckman. Besides Matty Rowell, I think he's the next most traded out player. What are we doing? What did you make of that Thursday night game? It wasn't pretty, but I think it was his worst score in 8 years. I think I saw Tim Michelle tweet, which is just crazy. But he just 0 marks, 0 tackles. It's not the Grundy we know. So I don't know, George. I think we should more talk about not just him, but also the strategy with all the players and Bruce and Hayes coming into one. What's your overall take on the Grundy trade out?
I think Grundy's problem is he has $7 million and he doesn't know what to do with himself, because we made excuses for him in 2020. I'm not motivated with the hubs. 2021, supposed to get back to his best, a little better. This year, preseason, he's back. He's dominating. He looks as fit as he's ever been. Then he dished up that. So, yeah, speaking about Grundy specifically, the week before he had like 6 marks he had 5 marks and 6 tackles. This game he had 0 and 0. His stat line, apart from that, wasn't too bad. So like 14 touches, decent man hit outs. Yeah, again, like Bruce and Hayes are there, and if you've got Grundy and someone else, you can't get them both.
Get them all, yeah,
all gone. So it's a hard one. I back him in to respond. This is like Zach Butters, right? Zach Butters put in 2 really bad games. Maybe he was injured, but we don't forget he was a gun. He was unreal in the preseason games. He was supposed to be getting a lot of midfield minutes in the preseason. He was a standout at training. All these great things. What was it? Hamish Harlot on radio. His attitude will make him one of the best players in the competition. That doesn't go out the window because of one bad game. I know Grundy's looked a little bit. He scored okay, but hasn't looked super great. A bit like last year, though. He scored pretty well last year, and he didn't always look super great. 4 90-plus scores in the past 4 weeks. I'm in no position to trade him. I've overtraded Aaron Holt in and out on top of what I've already done. It's just absolutely killed me. So I'll be holding. Now, do you want... I think the question... Move on to the next question.
I think we should actually...
get JD's take on Grundy.
Explain it. Well, we're in all 3 different positions, right? George, you've already got Bruce and Grundy. JD's got the sort of half Wits and Grundy, and then I've got Darcy and Grundy. So,
yeah.
I mean, go JD. What is your thoughts on Grundy? But we should speak about that.
Yeah, so there's 2 things here. Is trading out Grundy classically a good Supercoach move at this point in the year? And the answer is no. This type of sideways of a premium is almost always a bad trade. As you said, lowest score in 8 years. Yes, maybe Grundy is not his 120 self, but he's enough to be within the top 3-4 rucks. He's durable, and his next 3 matchups are really nice. Essendon, I think he's gone 150 in both of the last 2 Anzac days. Gold Coast, he went 140 on last year, and then Tigers, who he went 140 on last year as well. So the next 3, his last games against them are all like a 145 average, call it. So it seems silly to trade him out, and we've already seen this kind of backfire with Gawn this year, where people traded him out on the back of a couple of poor games, and then he bounced back to what you knew he would be. And people got better. Like, am I saying that Grundy's going to do the same? Not necessarily, but it's likely. But the wrinkle in it is that we do have really good downgrade options that you typically wouldn't have in a normal Supercoach year. So it's not normally when some of these rucks have a bad game and they've got a high break even, you don't have someone like Bruce that you could trade down to that's coming off 2 100s, has a break even in the negative 90s, and it's looking like he'll make 100K super easily over the next couple of weeks. And if getting him onto the field, which is better than every other rookie you have, and then upgrading any of those other rookies that you'd have on field to a premium midfielder who's going to outscore Grundy, you can effectively gain 20, 30 points plus cash doing that sideways trade. So there's reasons why this doesn't work. Trading Grundy is probably bad, but just given the other circumstances with people's teams, it is a trade that feels like it could work out this year, especially with boosts coming into play as well. So it's one that I'm not ruling out for consideration, even though, say it for the third time, typically not a move that should work.
And here's where I sit. So I have the 2 big Premier rucks. I'll go back to you, JD, on Wits in a second, but I have Darcy Grundy and then, Hugh Dixon at R3. Say Bruce gets named this week, whether it's double ruck or on his own, whatever. You want to get him in. He's got he's just got 2 tons. He's got a massively low break even. Sam Hayes is coming next week. Look, I don't think he was massively impressive from what you guys are saying. He didn't get around the ground well. He got 11 hit-outs to advantage, which was pretty much all of his score. But he is a 123K ruck who is going to be playing for the next 10 weeks unless they drop him and manifest someone else into the ruck who's not really a ruckman. So there's Bruce and Hayes, who both are only ruck status, and there's only really 3 ruck slots, and I got 2 big rucks. That's the other side of the coin, and that's where Grundy out for me just becomes more and more enticing to get those 2 guys into my team for cash gen. So I know you're not in the position to do it, George. You've already got rid of the big ruck quite a while ago. But that's
Wrong
where
one.
I'm sitting, and that's that's why I'm really leaning towards it. First of all, what's your thoughts on that, George, if you're in my situation? And plenty of people still have Gawn and Grundy from round 1 and haven't touched it.
Okay, I think we can break it down here. Is Bruce a must-have? So I think we'll go around. What do you think, Anno? Is Bruce a must-have?
I'm saying no, but that's so much bias because of what the situation I'm in. JD?
If Bruce is named as the solo ruck on Friday, he is a must-have. If they name Flynn and Bruce, I still lean more likely to must-have than not must-have, just because I think we need the cash generation for upgrade sooner rather than later. But I can see arguments for why he wouldn't be, just given durability. He's already been suspended twice. He plays for GWS. There's a bunch of reasons why he couldn't be. But I lean more towards him being someone that we need to have than not.
Negative 93 break even. So if he literally takes the field, he makes
It's
like
the 2
40K.
tons in the first 2 weeks that make it.
I think
it's harder.
he's risky. It could blow up because he's Bruce, but the reward outweighs the risk at the price. For that reason, I think he is. Okay, so I think we think overall consensus is yes, must have. Is
Yes.
Sam Hayes a must have? I'll start. So at the end of the day, he's a 123K ruck who is mature age. He's been waiting for opportunity for a long time. He rucked okay competitively in the hitouts. His tank is not good from the 1 game sample we've seen. They were saying, like Dermy was saying in the commentary, poor look at Sammy Hayes go, he's gassed, and it's the 3rd quarter. We've got a lot of his points from hitouts advantage, not a lot of around the ground stuff, but he's got a 70 in his system. His average, okay, so if his average is 82 in the sample, what's he going to average in AFL level? 70? I don't know.
70.
I'm going to say no, but if you can get him in, I would, because we have a lot of other good rookies, but just because we have good rookies now doesn't mean the ones coming in will be good. And Sam Hayes will be one of the better ones we get throughout the year.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
just how many...
If he averages 75s, he's going to make 200K over the first 6-7 weeks. Like, that's the thing. Basically, by the time his buy hits him around 12, he'll be at 330K.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I've just got Rob flashbacks. I know he's probably not going to be as good as Rob because Rob was waiting for so long for his chance. He was like 4 or 5 years in the system, but I mean, he made like
5 years in the system.
I guess he had 2 knees though. Rob, I don't think ever had a major injury, but I mean, yeah. Look, Hayes. Look, it's just his first game in the AFL. Maybe he'll take a little bit to get going, but I guess you can't change a tank overnight. But what did Rob make? Like close to 400 freaking K. Like,
yeah,
I've just got that. I can't be missing that. Not saying that Hayes will, but I think it's got to be 200 plus as a first ruck. Like if you don't make that from 120K, then there's something pretty wrong. So that's where I'm sitting, and that means that's why Grundy out is just really, really enticing.
Because even if Grundy does respond, okay, say you go,
I actually expect him to be honest. Like I don't see how he doesn't. So that's what again makes it harder again.
Honestly,
because all 4 of Grundy's scores had been good, by the way. Like if he'd done a 53 and solid, then had his 4 other scores, no one would be entertaining this. It's just because he just dropped the 53 and now has a negative break even.
I don't know what the hell if he was still going
really
yeah.
Like there's a lot of Gaundy owners. What are they? What is your advice to them? None of us are, but
because effectively what you're weighing up then is like you maybe like just getting one of Bruce or Hayes.
Skip one,
right?
Yeah. Who are you skipping? I guess we have to end on this discussion. Who do you skip?
So you skip Hayes.
Yeah, I think I'm more likely to skip Hayes, and just like the reason why is he was really gassed. Like it was woefully bad. He was walking up and down the corridor. In the fourth quarter, they were playing like Finn Layson in the ruck. He just like Hayes got involved in 0 chains around the ground because he literally couldn't move into a space where they would do it. And even when he was open, they weren't kicking to him, which to me like was a pretty worrying sign. So flag. 11 hitouts to advantage, which is what he got from his 20 taps, is elite numbers for AFL. And I just don't know if that's sustainable. Maybe it is, and he's just an excellent tap ruckman.
That's all he is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. He'll be good enough to score a 70, 75. But I worry that, say, this week it goes back to 5 or 6, and they're still not using around the ground because he's gassed straight away, that all of a sudden he's like more like a 50s or 60s and just not that good of an option.
Yeah,
or at least not that good compared to Bruce. So... yeah, that's the only thing that I'm worried about. Like, I do really want to see the second game on Hayes this week before going, like, that is someone we must have. I guess, like, just compared to the other first gamers, though, he's still the standout option. And so that's the other caveat I'll put on it. Only Hobbs comes close.
His stat line is 2 kicks, 3 handballs, 1 mark, 4 tackles, 3 frees, 4, 1 free against, 20 hitouts, 11. Was it 11 to advantage? Something like that.
Yeah, 11 to advantage.
No, that's a... 5
Wait, so how many frees did he get?
3, 1 against, and 4 tackles. Yeah, it sounds less enticing.
So 3 of the 5 disposals were from free kicks, and then 2 were earned?
I think so.
That's bad. That's bad.
I mean, maybe because those frees were in the ruck, maybe some of them were like taken advantage of by midfielders, and so he didn't get possessions for all 3 of them. But like, yeah, I mean, yeah,
it's one game, first game.
Yeah. Yeah, that you're like, Eno makes some great points that it is first game. He's come back from injuries. Port aren't doing great, although they came back obviously pretty well in that game. And then he had low time on ground, so just 68%.
Where it's hard is you'd like, cool, I can get a second look at him, get Bruce in this week and, decide next week. But the Grundy out factor is he has to go this week kind of because of the high break even and everything. Yeah. So it's like you have to commit to that side of it this week without getting to see Hayes the second week, who, mind you, is against BJ bloody Williams. So
yeah, so the only thing I guess we'll say on the trading Grundy front is you have to be bringing in 2 premiums
both
this
of them.
Week.
Yeah.
Oh, and yes. And you're only doing it to get these 2 guys.
And if you these are good premiums as well. It's not speculative stuff. You're not bringing in Luke Parker or Zorko like some of the other players we're talking about. You're bringing in proper premiums if you're trading at Grundy this week.
You probably bring in like a English in the forward line and then a primo mid.
Yeah, I think we should move on. We think that was a ruck
Yeah.
for about 20 minutes. I'm still no clearer on it.
It's
as
important
when
though.
we began, but it is very important. Yes. But let's get on to the other lines and other premiums we'll be bringing in, and
Well,
maybe some ones with issues first, and that's Whitfield and Ridley. I mean, we've spoken about them, I think, at nauseum now every week on this podcast. So I'm gladly a non-owner of both. I was Whitfield at the start, and he was gone to Heaney before you could know it. But watching him on the weekend, what did you guys notice in the most recent game? I think it was his most disposals for quite a while. So what did you see, JD?
I liked what I saw out of Whitfield, which, given his average score, people may be surprised with. It's just a 73, which is to me so surprising because he did go at 76% and only had the 5 clangers. So to have negative 28 DT to Supercoach to me just seems like crazy. I didn't think he was that bad. I guess the low contested numbers hurt, and then some of the clangers came early in a game where GWS got destroyed, so you just get negatively scaled for the rest of the game on the back of that. But his role was better, which is what we thought with Cumming being out. What was a little bit disappointing was Melbourne didn't score many behinds, so he didn't actually get many of the kickouts. We were expecting him to get off Cummings. He just had the 2, which was the same as the week before. But yeah, a lot more run and carry, getting involved in chains. His disposal still wasn't the best, and some of the it's really hard to know because it's GWS as well. Like sometimes you'd see him get involved in these chains and he'd kind of look up to do the kick and then would hesitate, and it would then get him into trouble. And is that because GWS aren't putting the options up forward for him, or there's something going on with Whitfield? But whatever the situation is, it looked closer to the Whitfield that we expected we were going to get this year, both in terms of role and what he was doing within the role. So that was all really promising stuff, despite the poor Supercoach score for the week.
What did you notice, George?
Yeah, that's exactly what JD said. It definitely, the role was improved. I don't know exactly what the split was between wing and half back, but I feel like he was making more plays at half forward. Not necessarily playing half forward, but in that area. So I thought, yeah, the disposals were up. He looked better. Copped a hit he's copped hits. I think 3 out of 5 games now.
But he hasn't died from any of them yet, so that's an improvement on previous years.
Yeah, so they're kind of all. It's just weird how it's kind of unlucky as well. So it's just weird how he keeps attracting these, gets caught in a tackle, just stuff like that. So I thought it was encouraging what I saw, a little bit better. And I was saying to you boys before we started the podcast that the reality with Whitfield is he's not a good user anymore. He hasn't been since 2020. So this is bad disposal games are going to happen often, and they've happened often this year, happened often last year. We thought it was just rust last year because of a lack of preseason, but just makes too many errors now. I think David King gave him a bit of a spray in the media as well. I can't remember. Some media wrote an article on him. So, look, I think
it wasn't the headline that was symptomatic of what was wrong with GWS, but really, the only thing that's wrong with GWS is the coach, and everyone knows it. And the fact that he's not being criticized week in, week out for years on end is beyond insane to me. The only other thing I'll say on Whitfield, by the way, is his price at 460. You can't really trade him out to anything good. And this is maybe a somewhat bold take, but I think after his buy in round 11, is that the first buy, round 11? No, round 12. People may be looking to bring him in as a cheap D6 to finish their sides if they don't have him. I think the corner will turn at some point for Whitfield, and he'll be cheap enough that he'll be enticing.
Look, I'll put a positive out to people who still own him. Toby Green's back this week. I don't know how the club works and the players, but maybe they walk taller and perform better when he's back in the side. I don't know. But they really don't look too flash right now.
So I think if you're committed now, you hold now.
Oh, yeah, you're not trading him. The next guy, again, is someone people still own and been tempted to trade. I know many have. And that's Jordan Ridley. And I don't know. I'll go straight to JD. What did you see? The game plan doesn't work, and his role is not as good as it was last year. And I just don't think that's going to improve, is it? It's just what it is.
Essendon suck. I mean, we've faced... So 4 of our 5 losses have been against top 8 sides, and I think 3 of them are the top 3 on the ladder at the moment. So it's not like we've competed against bad teams, but we've been so far off the contest for multiple quarters in those. It's not like, if you give us an easier opposition, then we're a shoo-in to win. I don't think that's the case either. Essendon's just pretty bad this year, and it does make it hard for Ridley. Just because if you don't have your midfield and even your forwards to an extent putting the pressure on to create poor kicks inside 50, it just makes it really hard for people in those roles. Like if you're watching Sicily on the weekend, who obviously had a standout game, that first quarter Hawks midfield was putting a lot of pressure on. The ball was coming in pretty poor to Geelong's forward 50. Multiple intercept marks Sicily took. It looked like they were kicking it to him on his lead rather than to the Geelong forward. You're just not getting any of that with Essendon's forward 50. Exact same problem they had against Geelong in round 1, where everything was hitting Geelong inside on the chest. No defenders touching those balls. Like, just this is the problem with being a defender in Essendon's shit team. And then on top of that, like Sicily's a good comparison just because the role is so much better at the moment. So even though Sicily's not getting kick-ins, Ridley got, I think, 7 of 10 or 12 on the weekend, which is a lot of kick-ins. But there's no chip-to-chip in the back half at all. So Sicily is getting a lot of easy kick mark play on top of that, which just helps boost your score. Ridley gets none of that because Essendon's not doing that game plan. I think I've said that every week for the last like 3 or 4 weeks. Essendon's game plan is not Supercoach friendly for Ridley. And yeah, that hasn't changed at all. So, I mean, I traded him out after 100. I don't think anything's changed for me. I just don't think he's going to be a top 6 option. And even though Whitfield scored worse, I'm still more optimistic on him than I am on Ridley at the moment. I think a lot has to turn around with Essendon for Ridley to be Supercoach relevant.
Yep, I don't think I have anything more.
I agree with that.
I think George will either. So we'll move on to the guys we'll be bringing in, and I think we can move on to Sicily because George has been a believer for a while, and he put it out there on the podcast last week. He's a guy that he wants to bring in. I think I was sort of on the fence. I still thought he could be a top 6, but I really love that game from him. Everything looked perfect. I know it was more his
Sicily
first and fourth. I love Sicily. I've owned him in the past. In the last years, he was relevant, and I just love him as a bloke and a player, to be honest, as well. But yeah, more on the game. The first obviously quarter was insane, and the fourth quarter was really good. Second and third, he got lost a bit on Cameron, and the Cats started to play well in those parts. But the role itself and what he's doing, George. I mean, what did you see from him and the whole Hawks game plan?
They used him a lot out of defense. I think the concerns in the preseason was, first of all, he played full-blown key position in the preseason.
That Tigers game, yeah.
we didn't see him with Impey, with Day, with
Bramble's still out.
Yeah. Hardwick, what's the kick and split? Like, he's the main guy. And Scrimshaw's also out. Is he out? I can't remember.
I believe he came back. I think he was back.
Well, anyway,
so he's there too.
At the end of the day, he's still value at 500k. He's playing really well. He's demanding the footy. I've been saying that for a few weeks now. You got the Jaden Shaw, Aaron Hall job. You take the kick in, you kick it to someone, you run up the line, get the receive, get another. He was doing that. So he wants the ball. He wants to use. He's a great ball user as well. Had a few clangers here and there, and thank God he missed that goal.
He only had one clanger. I thought he had more than that. They just weren't registered, to be honest.
He's not that.
How many marks did he have on the weekend?
Short kicks or too long to contests in a wet. It was a pretty dour game. Sometimes it's hard to have a clanger if you don't take on any hard kicks. But 15 marks as well.
15 marks, right? That's the ridiculous number, right? So even if the game plan is to put it through him a lot, that is well above what you'd expect. I think he's averaging something like 9 marks for the year now, which is pretty insane.
Most in the league.
Is it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That would make sense. It's a crazy number. It's overtaken Brayshaw from the Demons? He's been slacking.
Yeah.
After that 20.
So I think with this, you
go on. I was going to say he should have scored more because he was insane in the first quarter. He just went missing in the second and third. So you would have thought he would score more from this game, but I just think the way the game panned out didn't help.
Yeah, I do think it is a little bit of a worry that his flexibility does mean that he may get thrown around at points in the year. So we saw him get thrown forward for a touch. We've seen him be used as lockdown defender. So I think there's possibly some week-to-week games or circumstances where he does have a bad score. But overall, I mean, he's playing really well at the moment. And if you could guarantee me more games like the Geelong game plan on the weekend, I think George is right that he's a lot of value at his price.
Would you be bringing him in this week at 500k? I think the answer is yes for George.
Yeah, but the problem is I want guys like I can't go another week without Tim English. It's driving me nuts. And I want to get a primo mid in who are going to outscore Sicily. So I'm kind of chasing points a bit here. But Sicily's definitely one I might bring in, but I think I'll go a different route. But yeah, more than happy to bring him in if that pans out that way. He'd be my number one target in defense this week because of the break even and price.
Yep. All right, we probably should not speed us up a bit, but move on to Jack Sinclair. I think he just looked awesome again. Still a speculative pick at this point, but I don't think I have any problem with people bringing him in. He's put 5 tons together now in a row. The role looks good. I think Zach Jones is back soon, but he's more of a midfielder. And Hunter Clark, I'm not too sure how far away he is, but he's looked awesome. He's looked really, really good, and he's main part of why the Saints have been pretty impressive this year. What quick thoughts on Jack Sinclair, boys? Changed from last week, or
I mean, I think he was one of my top targets last week just because of the value presented, and I think the problem is he's just one more week removed from that, so he's up at 550k now. You're comparing him to people like Doherty and Stewart. That I think Doherty's 570. I'm assuming Stewart's probably around the same, and I think I'd probably rather pay 20k more and get Stewart than I would for Sinclair now. So when it was like 50k difference a week ago, then I can see the argument. But yeah, that's the only problem. But he has been somewhat impressive. It's just the fact that he's not proven and he's the late breakout that makes me a little bit hesitant. So yeah, but yeah, like if you got on him, then good stuff.
I think the Saints have had a pretty soft fixture so far, and he seems to be getting most of the ball down back. I didn't see a whole lot of midfield time on the weekend from memory, but yeah, he's just doing whatever he wants back there. They give him the ball, goes for a run, makes a play over and over again.
Yeah, so Sinclair had no CBAs the last 2 weeks now.
Okay, That makes sense then. He's getting most of the most kickouts, I think. I think he had 4. So I think he's a good solid pick. He had a 1 week hamstring last year, so I'll pass. But yeah, the hypocrisy of bringing in Aaron Hall, I have to live with that. But yeah, he looks good. But I'm surprised people haven't put time into him yet, to be honest. But
move on quickly. Jake Lloyd, George, you a little bit of a fan of his this year. What did you see from him on Friday night?
This is Jake Lloyd standard stuff. Last 2 weeks, they've conceded 6 behinds total. So he's only had like 3 or 4 kick-ins. And yeah, he had that one poor game of 70 odd or whatever it was. I'll happily, I'm not sure he's top 6, but the durability, the price, I think he'll go close to top 6. So I'm more than happy to bring in Jake Lloyd for 5. I think he's 540 now with a 140 break even. I'm hoping that he's low 500s over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll bring him in. More than happy to bring him in. So they are using a lot of others back there, but he's still the main kick-in player back there, and he's played really well in patches. Like it's kind of like disappears a bit, has a big quarter or a half, but still happy to bring him in. Are you guys thinking about bringing in Jake Lloyd?
It's just there's so many other good defenders. So once again, like I've got one spot left. Is Lloyd the person I want to spend on that spot at 540k? Like maybe if you got down to low 500s, he's good enough value that I'd consider him. But for me, it's going to be someone like a Stewart or a Doherty if I want the real top end primo. Or if I'm looking for value, it'll be someone like Hall around the bye once he's had a few weeks back and he's low 500s. No. I'm sorry, but it's low 500s for a 125.
Oh my god!
Like, yeah, I don't know. It's just not likely that I consider someone like Lloyd now.
Fair enough. I'm similar. I've got 4 defenders, but I still like Dacos back there for a bit and Hinge, and maybe in a few weeks, like you said, if he's still 500k, I'll consider him, but I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he looks, as you said, durability is a really big positive with him. Let's move on to the midfield. We got still a bit to go, so unless you got any other defenders, did you want?
Yeah, can I just throw like one like left field one that no one's mentioned at all because he hurt a lot of people last year?
I know
I was gonna talk about Witherden, but I was gonna talk about May just because he burned a lot of people last year. He's been averaging like 10 kick-ins a week. Like it's just a lot of free kicks. He's the only person in Melbourne that takes them. His average is 108, 3-round average of 119. I think he's top scored a couple of weeks. Any thoughts for May at all?
It's
No.
Salem out, right? Isn't it? That's the kick-in business. Why he's
Yeah, I
getting
guess
so
so
many.
because Salem. No, Salem didn't take any first couple of weeks.
I think how early did he die? Didn't he die in the first
He might have died
first
week 1,
half,
right?
maybe? Yeah.
Yes, he did die. Yeah. Okay, so maybe that. Okay, what about Witherden then? That was the other one I did look at, but then like moved off.
I think it. Look, George will say no, I already know because he has injury history. But
He's got a hamstring last year.
Yeah, he
for
did a hamstring
sure.
in 2012. Shannon Hearn, if he was to disappear, then I think he'd come right into consideration. But he seems to have already kind of taken over him at this point in the season.
Yeah, it's just crazy. He's got a 3-round average of 122, so 134, 127, and 106 over the last 3. Had a poor score in round 2, and I don't think he played round 1 because of suspension, I want to say. Or was it injury? One of the two.
I don't care.
520k though. It's just he's very cheap. So if you're looking at a defender this week, then Witherden is like an interesting pod for mine.
I just think,
and because West Coast,
well,
it's just that West Coast is so bad. I guess, but like West Coast is so bad, and he's taking a lot of the kickouts. Probably like maybe a little bit under half with Hearn. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's one of those ones where if Hearn goes down, like
I think
very good option.
At this point, George just wants us to shut up. I think JD.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
It
Witherden's
could work.
George found out on Witherden's mum's Instagram that she had a hammy, and so he's worried about the genetics.
What's his
Anyway.
time ground? He used to have bad time. It's 82. Okay.
I just was watching the game and he was taking everybody kick out.
Yeah, it's just
he
was
pretty
everywhere.
funny.
He's always had this sort of scoring in him. Just
Mhm.
hasn't been given opportunity and had a few things to work on. It could work. I don't want to stuff around with
It
this
feels
stuff
like
this.
It feels like him next year could be like short this year, where like Hearn retires, same with Hooley, and it just becomes so obvious that you start him. But anyway, let's keep going.
Let's go mids. This is the fun part. This is the big dogs. We got to bring in. I mean, quite a few this year. I don't think many people started with heaps of them. So at least 4, I think people need to bring in throughout this season. So there is a couple of options this week. I think first we got here Christian Petrarca versus Andrew Brayshaw. So Christian Petrarca, he's he started huge, then had a couple of down weeks getting tagged. Last week the 2 goals and I think close to 30 touches with a 116. And look, his break even is 132. They got the Tigers this week. That's a very good matchup. And then as we spoke about previously, that Melbourne's draw opens right up. Brayshaw is averaging 130, and that's with a couple of 90s as well, bursting through some tags. Has the big 180 this season. His break even's 123, and he just off the back of a 130 against the Bombers last week. Boys, if you had to choose and who was coming in this week, I know there's a slight price difference, so it's about 30k, which can play into your decision. But who would you be bringing in if you had to choose, George?
I put this question so you could help me out. It's hard. This is just me being pessimistic, but Petrarca had knee strapping in round 4.
He did.
And then he twisted his knee during that week after he had the knee strapping, apparently, at training, and was listed as in doubt for round 5, and then played without strapping in round 5. So a little confused, but looked all right. I think Petrarca, if you look at the fixture, Melbourne's next 5 is a piss take, and Fremantle's fixture, the first 5, was a piss take. So those games are gone.
Oh, yeah. Fremantle's fixture upcoming is harder, right? Because I've got Carlton and Geelong the next 2.
If from memory, I think on Fox Footy, I don't think Freo have beaten anyone above 12th.
From last year, yeah.
I think. Something like that. So...
Oh, no,
probably.
It'd be currently this year.
Essendon made finals last year, so they were.
Yeah, no, and Giants did, so
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It is this year. It is.
Yeah,
this year.
But on the other hand, they both got tagged twice. I think that both of them had a bit of a release tag at some point, but.
Yeah, so Essendon put McGrath to run with him with Petrarca, and then did he get another tag? No, he just had the poor game with Port. They didn't tag him, did they?
I
No,
think
they put
Drew was on
him.
him to a little
Oh,
bit.
okay.
Yeah.
But that's
And
the thing.
then-
He's now the guy over Clary. It's clearly shifted.
And then
That's part of
Bray
it.
got hard tagged a couple of games, right? Because they had the GWS double tag on him, and he also got
He
tagged.
got Jackson Nelson for a half, and then he broke through that
Yes,
because they were
yeah.
spanking him. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
And then Essen decided not to tag him, which was like bizarre. So he had
but GWS also decided not to tag anyone, right? Which was
this week,
also
yeah,
bizarre.
this week, yeah.
Which is
After
also
tagging Brayshaw, yeah. I don't know, like Leon Cameron,
Weird.
Leon
Weird.
Cameron, eh?
Who are you choosing, JD?
I think I'd go Petrarca just because of the fixture. Yeah, good team,
Yep.
like better team, good fixture. I just feel safe, and like
And 30K.
and he's probably less taggable of the two, even though they're both taggable. And then the money helps a little bit as well. But I mean, he did have some knee strapping because occasionally it swells after coming off 6-day breaks. So we should be checking
finished
how
out
many
that training
6-day
session.
breaks.
By the way, like he
Yeah.
did.
Did you see
Yeah.
the footage of him playing
Yeah.
soccer with the Ds and like kicking the goal and sliding? That didn't look like someone that was having knee problems to me.
I'll bring him in then. It's all good.
Yeah, my
Petrarca.
heart so wants to say Brayshaw. I do love him, but it is Petrarca.
It's so hard. Like I don't think you can go too wrong with either. I want
No.
both at some point.
Yeah. Better the point is, you think they're both top 8 for this season?
I think Petrarca was 120 plus post buy last year, so
Yep. I did get a fair chunk of that.
yeah.
All right, now
Also-
the next one. Yeah, go on.
Also, just like one other thing is like Petrarca seems like he's becoming or like leaning into that big game player kind of reputation. And so I think even playing some of the big teams isn't going to hurt him anymore. Like those are games where you actually might see the 140s where you would, instead normally expect a down game. So anyway, I like Petrarca.
Yeah, he's going to dominate this week.
Oh,
It's
and he could have had an
gonna
even
happen.
bigger score because he had that goal that was taken back by the push in the back on the line.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Did you not see this? Like, I think was
No. Oh, was
was
it
it-
Langdon or something?
it was Langdon I think it was Langdon that pushed the GWS guy. And
Was
like
it
he
pretty
kicked
soft or not?
us. Yeah, well, so it was there, right? But it didn't affect the goal. Like the
Yeah.
goal went through above the defender's height. It's just there was a push there that called back a like kick from 50-meter arc that sailed through the goal. So yeah, he could have had an even bigger score on the weekend. Anyway, I
we should have
digress.
started umpire stuff. We could be here for another hour.
Yeah.
The next one is Jack Steele versus Clayton Oliver. Say for whatever instance you're bringing in two big guys, and you go and say a track, and then you have the luxury of going a more expensive guy. And Clayton Oliver had that weird down game 2 weeks ago, which has him on a 113 average for the season. But better yet, has him with a break even still of 174. So obviously same matchup and fixture as Petrarca, just coming off a 118, and then Jack Steele. A little bit concerned at the start of the season, but I think it was the same last year. He's just, I don't know, just not the best starter off the blocks, but he's already sort of worked himself into it. And St Kilda look really good, and his break even's only 115. So Steele's 640 and Clary's 620. Would you be encouraging, I don't know, getting both Melbourne boys and going Clary a week early with his big break even? Does that worry you, George, or you don't care about that?
I'd probably. There's every chance he hits it, but I'd probably save a bit of money and wait a week on Oliver. Out of these two, I'd pick Steele. Breaks my heart.
Yep.
I went Steele to Cripps. It really does. I hate that so
Yeah.
much, but yeah, I'd go Steele.
Steele. Yep. JD.
So for the same price, it's easily Steele. With price in consideration, it's easily Oliver, and you just wait a week to do that trade.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think you got to wait for Clary. Focus on your Petrarca. But I guess if you're getting both in, that's probably good, and they both could go absolutely monstrous this week. George has got Baz down here. This is a really weird one. He's the number 1 ranked player in fantasy. I
By a
traded him in
mile, by the
real
way.
dream team. So yeah,
for average only.
for average, right? He missed one game.
It's not by a mile. Like Brayshaw's on
It's
his
like
heels.
10 points clear.
Is he? Is he
Yeah.
that high up? Oh,
Yes, he's
average is
135.
135. Holy, what's Brayshaw? 126. Oh man,
9
that's
points
bad.
clear.
So look,
That's
he just had
crazy.
43 touches. I kicked a couple of points too. He could have gone even bigger, but his ratio wasn't great. He's been using it
He's
pretty
torching
poorly,
it.
But,
He's torching it bad.
what do you think is going to continue, George? The role with the Dogs players is always the question, but he's getting a lot of CBAs this year, more than he really sort of ever has.
43
does that continue?
touches. What the hell?
I know.
It's funny. You look at the most disposals in the league. Number 1, Baz. Number 2, Sam Walsh is the average. So I think that's pretty cool from the same draft here.
That is cool.
Well, Hunter's out. Do they do something with Baz?
Yeah.
And you know what's going to happen? We're going to be like, better not touch Baz now because Hunter's out, and Baz is going to dominate again. So
I did mention
maybe
he's 520k. He's 520k.
They could call up Lipinski from the seconds finally.
Poor Riley West stuck there forever.
They're not.
I won't bring in Baz. He had a hip issue and a groin issue and took a mental health break. Look, he's Baz. He'll get off every game. I got little doubt about that, but I guess that's some consideration. I'll pass on Baz, but I'll just enjoy watching him. But he can't average. If he's averaging like 135 in fantasy and 120 Supercoach, like that's not sustainable. Surely not. I don't think anyone's ever done 135 before. I'm not sure in that format, but I'll pass on Baz. I wouldn't talk anyone out of it though, because 36 touches a game
plays a big part. Like 520k is very cheap, and could he become a top 10 mid and be a M8?
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, JD.
Yeah, the price is like pretty amazing at 522 because it does open up options for what you're trading, especially if you're trying to get 2 primos in and you're kind of struggling on how to do it. The other thing, of course, that we've mentioned a million times before with all the Dogs players, their fixture is super soft in the coming weeks.
Dogs in the D's, man. It's crazy.
Adelaide, Essendon, Port, Collingwood, Gold Coast, West Coast. Like, come on. That's just... It's so soft up until their bye. So that is the only other question. If you had McRae, English, and Dunkley already, is bringing in Baslenka as well just a little bit too much?
If it depends on your buys. If you have more than like 7 players in that buy, then probably yes. If not, because I don't see why
a lot of people have, I guess, took Miller as well. It's probably the only other like super relevant one, but I think that otherwise that buy is pretty empty on premiums unless I think
the Sydney if you have Heaney or Lloyd as well.
Yeah, okay. I don't have. Yeah, okay. Yeah, because then you could have potentially Dunkley, English, and Heaney all missing from your forward line, which is pretty bad. And then
I just looked, boys. I've got Stewart and Dawson as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, but that's the one line that doesn't share with them. Yeah. And then it's Took Miller is the one that would share it with McRae and Baslenka. So I guess if you've got McRae, yeah. I don't know. That's the only other thing, which is like how many's too many. But he's definitely value at his price. Like we're talking about some of these other 520k options like Witherden or like Sicily at 500. Baz seems like a better value play with more upside.
It's the time on ground as well. It's 95 to it's like 94, 97, something like that every week. Like what the hell? Playing inside
going half forward, isn't he?
That's like nil in COVID year numbers. Yeah.
And look, to be honest, I'm looking at getting off Essendon as a team to follow. So I might just do the George approach, which is trade in all the Dogs and just like pretend I'm a Dogs man.
Yeah.
My team won this week. Yeah. Supercoach team.
I've said it before, but when the Crows are on at the same time with the Dogs, it's I don't say nothing, but I like watching the Dogs. But I'm a horrible person, aren't I? But that's all right.
All right, we'll quickly touch on the other big dog from that draft, and that's Sammy Walsh. He was racking them up early that game. 16 in the first quarter. Was cooking. Look, it's weird. Like they've never. How many games this season has Carlton played with all their mids? I think it's 1.
Yeah.
So,
and that was the one Walsh was returning from injury and like started out slow.
Still had 30 odd. I think he still had 30 odd touches, but
yeah.
Look, he's a guy that was in my side all preseason. He's just crazy, isn't he? I mean, did he get tagged a bit on the weekend by Carl Amon? That didn't really work, did it? No. So, I don't think he's a priority bring in with all the guys we've just mentioned. I think he has the first buy, if I'm not mistaken. So he's someone I want to look at after that and for the run home for sure. I don't know if you guys have any differing views, but that seems best for me with Walsh.
We were just hoping we'd get him at a much cheaper price and there'd be a slower start, and it just hasn't really happened. So given that he's coming off the injury and it's a stacked midfield we haven't seen work together, and it's the first buy. I think for all the reasons you've said, you kind of wait and see what happens and bring him in as maybe one of your last upgrades. Because it's just, like it's someone that we would have loved to have started with if he was still there. And definitely like one of the guys I was playing with starting as well. His stat line is amazing though. It's like 33 touches, 5 marks, 4 tackles through the first 4 games. And he's giving away like a few frees a game. So if he cleans that up, because they're clangers against, his scoring could go crazy, well into the 120s. But
weekend just gone. He had 3 clangers. They were all free kicks. He didn't have any clangers with the footy. That's really
38
good.
touches, no clangers from disposal is pretty nuts. So he's just like he's in the same category as some of these others where you just want him in your team because you want to cheer for him week in, week out.
I love it.
Just watch him go around the ground. It's that's a tough one to sit out and not have, but I think that's just where he's priced at the moment. He's probably less attractive than some of the other options that we've talked about. So, 610 versus Petrarca at 575.
Yeah. Or even Clary for 10k more.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anything else, George? I think that'll
look at him
post
post buy, but wouldn't talk anyone out of getting him now.
Fair enough. All right, now we've got to get to the forwards. We've been going quite a while. But this again, like it's a big talking point, and that's Tim English. Like he is F2 just to Heaney still. I think he's 4 points total, between them, and then
that's King Isaac.
I shouldn't have said it, but we have to talk about him as well. And then he's ruck 1, so like he could be the top in two bloody positions come the end of the year. Surely not. I mean,
the way Gorn's going, I'd probably overtake him, but he'll be close.
570, and I think, what did you say, a 97 break even. So you can wait a week, but we mentioned the Dogs fixtures 10 times already. They also apply to Tim English. So what are you thinking, George? I think he's coming into your team this week. Is that what you're going to do?
So sick of the value picks killing me every week. I can't take it anymore. Sicily, English, now Gorn. I think none of us have any of them, right?
Oh, he's not a value pick, but
no English. Yeah.
You cancelled out.
No, I don't have Heaney either, and I don't have Brody. Like, there's so many good value picks I don't have. And Cripps, the one I traded in, of course, got injured.
Yeah. Same. I can't, like, every week it's like, I might have an okay score. Nope. English 140, Sicily 130. God.
Heaney 130.
Heaney 110, I think.
Yeah. And it's not even that my players are doing badly. Like, I'm looking at them like, hundreds across the board, but it's just not a 130. It's not a 140. It's so annoying.
Yeah. I mean, what can you say in English? It's not going to change. I don't think Steph Martin's coming in.
Too many marks around the ground, just floating back, taking intercepts. He's got a few easy kills as well.
He's
with
not
Sam
like
Hayes
other
and BJ Williams coming up.
They want to use him. Even with Gorn and stuff, right? He's perfectly good around the ground. But Melbourne players will sometimes see him and decide not to use him. That doesn't really happen with English. They still use him. Like, they just treat him like anyone else in that midfield. They're not really worried about giving it to him under pressure. It's somewhat insane to see. Because he's a bad tap ruckman. He's still not a good tap ruckman. But just like the around the ground use is nuts. And in a team that is like so Supercoach friendly with a fixture that's so soft, George, the question I have to you is, if I'm only trading in Petrarca or English this week, they're basically the same price. Am I crazy for considering bringing in English over Petrarca?
Okay, so what does Petrarca average? 115 to 120, maybe more. Yep. What does English average? I think 115.
Yeah. So the difference
20, and I hate to say it, I think
115 for a forward is like F1, F2, F3, or whatever. But there's potentially other midfielders that I can get at 570k in the future that might go 115 for the back half of the year.
We got to get him, boys.
Sure.
We got.
I just want to get him in.
Yeah.
I'm getting
so
both.
Oh, man.
I think Petrarca's got a bit more upside. So if you want to play for upside, maybe go for track. But I think like English is like top 1 to 3 in position. Worst case, I think Petrarca is probably a 5 to 10 range, maybe like 4th to 10th range. I think.
Yeah.
So
Which bye does Melbourne have? Sorry.
last one, worst one with Brayshaw, with Neil, with Oliver, with Crisp, with Sicily.
I mean, it's bad, but it's good. It's good in the sense that if you've got spare trades, you can make up ranks and points and stuff out of it. But yeah, yep, I take your point. So yeah, English.
Yeah, and I know we mentioned the fixture, but the rucks fixture makes more sense sort of with English. Like, we know he's going to do what he does around the ground, but let's add in maybe he can get some ruck points here. And he's got Rob this week. Rob's decent. Draper.
Been up and down, up and down.
He's been up and down.
Mm.
Draper the week after, who's on his own now with no Phillips, but Draper's capable. But then he gets Port Adelaide. That's Sam Hayes. Grundy then Wits, but then he gets BJ Williams or Stranatica or I don't know. One of those flappy things in the wind, whoever they've got playing that week, Reece Stanley, and then it's the bye. So that's pretty bloody good. Like, yes, we know he's going to do around the ground, but he can still get some ruck points there as well.
I know we don't need it, but ruck cover kind of a little bit
As
nice.
well.
You have Bruce, although we have Cherry, but I think Cherry will be gone in like 3 weeks. So
yeah. And then it compounds with me with the Grundy out move to where look, it looks stupid because I'm boosting and I'm just making that direct swap essentially while upgrading elsewhere. But down the line, he becomes ruck cover. He can play R2 and allows me to get those other 2 cash makers. Like, it's just, it makes too much sense, and I just don't think this scoring is going to stop. So,
yeah, so I think there's 2 different things here, right? Like, if you're picking to upgrade, Petrarca versus English is one issue, and I can see arguments for both sides. But the second point you're bringing up is, like, would you straight swap Grundy to English this week?
it's kind of what people are effectively doing with
and I'm
Yeah.
and boosting to do it. And look, I haven't used a boost yet, so maybe it's not the worst thing. But others might have used one or maybe 2, or
I don't know. I don't think he
probably-
outscores them that much that it's worth a boosted side swap.
No.
The more I think about it, the more I wouldn't sacrifice Grundy to get Sam Hayes in, I think.
Oh man, it's so tough.
Just depends on.
Depends on Bruce's name, team sheets. I think for me is where I'll make my decision. Oh, all right. Let's not go too much longer. Isaac Heaney, well, he can't keep 120 up. I think we know that, but I think he can go 105, 110 for the rest of the year, and he'll sort of be the F.
I think it's
3, 4, 5. I would say.
2. I feel like he's 535, 40k with a 60 break even, 60 or 70. I feel like this is the last chance. Otherwise, you might as well just pay for a mid.
Yep.
Or get him very late after the buy or something.
His CBAs are going down each week, and his scores are still going up. His price is still going up. Devs do something. There's something wrong with the Supercoach game. There's something broken. Can we please patch this bullshit?
Can I just say he was not well for the North game. They pulled him off with 15 minutes.
He didn't play the last 15 minutes for the West Coast game.
They put the old Rolls Royce in the shed, and then the last game.
It's crap.
No, wait. This game, did they rest him this game? No, they rested him this game. Yeah.
Yeah, West Coast, he didn't play.
Yeah.
You got let off, JD.
Man, I like, what is he? He's like 40% owned, right? Like, this is just like one of the most hurtful things each week.
Look, as much as I love the pick and needed it so badly to work, I wasn't expecting this. This is
No,
ridiculous.
of course not.
So yeah,
But
take it and
Papley's
run.
back soon. Buddy's only a week or 2 away, and then he'll play sort of closer to 50-50 that he sort of was early-ish, but
Hopefully
he's
that
just in
muds
such
him.
good form.
Hopefully more midfield time makes him score worse, because I can't
like
handle it.
I like him forward more. Like,
So bad.
we said this preseason, he's a 95 average forward. That was never in question.
So, by the way, like, this is the longest of long cons, right? Because he was in our sides up until that preseason game where they just played him forward, and we're he's tricked us again. He's tricked us again. Let's take him out. And
Everyone, entire Discord had Heaney. If you didn't have Heaney, you were like, get Heaney in, you idiot. And then everyone took him out except for me and like 4 other people in general after the game. And then it's like,
I wanted him, man. I love him. I wanted him, man.
Yeah.
I just had to pick bloody.
Because if bloody Horse didn't do that to us, we would.
That's not even why I
team.
got rid of him. That's not. I didn't care. That was.
I mean,
the
there's
structure.
other stuff going on with structures and stuff as well, which made it even worse. And it's why like English wasn't considered as much as, even though like he was on the list. Yeah. It's just like you couldn't do it with the structure behind like Dunkley, Butters, and Heaney. But yeah, like
and defender
man, that
rookies and
hurts.
stuff.
It hurts so
You
much.
shouldn't have got punished for 122 average over 5 rounds, but it's happened, and you can't do anything fucking about
It's
it.
a story. It's a story of the year. It's a story of the year. It's just like.
I just look. I don't think I'd be on this podcast tonight if I did Crips over Heaney. I think I just would have retired. I think I would have retired. I just wouldn't. I could not forgive myself. So anyway, we got Butters here. Yeah,
the sideways trade I was looking at last week was got Crips to English, and I really regret not doing that now. But I mean, hindsight's 2020, so it is what it is.
Yeah,
I did the move that should normally work, and it just didn't work again. And that's like the story Supercoach here. The stuff that should work, none of it has worked. Like
that's this season, man. That's what's got me doing weird shit.
Yeah, hopefully it's just 1 year, and then next year's. I don't know. I'm already planning for 2023. It's so sad.
Are you starting the fantasy channel?
Yeah. Oh man, my fantasy team's good. Let's talk about that for it. No, come on. We've got one more forward on the list.
I know we've really gone. Yeah, we'll skip Butters. We've spoken about him. DeGoey,
he's fine.
JD. What are you saying with DeGoey? I think he's fifth in the coaches' votes this season and missed a game. Like he's in really good form.
Yep, 480k, and he's got the role that we wanted Heaney to have, in the sense that he actually has the midfield time, the CBAs. He led them again with 88% on the weekend, has led them through most of the games he's played. Somewhat of a soft draw in the sense that he's still got Essendon to play twice. So that's pretty nice, as well as Gold Coast and Richmond in the coming weeks. So, yeah, nice fixture, good role, good form, coaches' votes. And we saw over the back end of last year that in that midfield role, he can score really well. 480k, 74 break even this week. I actually think he's a really good option. Looks like he should be a top 6 forward. Obviously, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. He sounds like an absolute douchebag off field, and it's not an endorsement of his character in any form whatsoever. I don't know the guy. I've just seen the stuff in the media. Don't like it. But from a Supercoach perspective, it just seems like a really good option this week. One that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, and maybe it's because there's just so much other nice stuff in your forward lines like English, Heaney, and Brodie, which I don't have. So you don't need to consider someone like DeGoey. But yeah, 480k, I think he's a really good option this week. And I prefer him over Heaney, which, look,
how dare
it's
you?
not it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Obviously, it's not going to work because nothing this year has worked. But this should be the pick that works. DeGoey.
As a trade in this week, I think I kind of agree with that, with the price factor and whatnot. But yeah, there's always worries with DeGoey off field. Is he going to play out the season? Is something going to pop up?
He's
in a contract year, though, right? Or
I'm sure Dr. George will. Yeah, he is contract year actually. Yeah. So he hasn't done a great
yet. He's paying for the $1 million a year. So
yeah.
What do you think, George? Just quickly.
He's all right. I don't want to know. I think he's like 5th to 8th F forward rank. I think something like that. Possibly upside for more. Still don't think he's getting like the cheapies in the back half as much as he was last year. Yeah. He's fine if you want him. I'll pass. I'm happy with my forwards. I have 7 at the moment, so
yeah, that doesn't really.
So there we go.
Pardon me. All right, we'll quickly move on and finish with 2 rookies that are on the bubble. Besides Bruce, we've already spoken about him. Big Roses, we've got.
Big Roses.
Shout out Lang.
Shout out to Lang. Yeah,
owned him last year for an average of what, 22.
He needed a player for the buys. Avoided that donut for the buys. Got 20 average. Well, man. I watched the Gold Coast game.
Though. Yeah,
yeah. I posted stats on Twitter. I think he's 95 and 85 in the VFL, 270s in the AFL. It looks pretty good. Had 3 goals in his first game. Missed, I think, 0 goals, 2 in his second game. Getting up the ground a bit, making some plays. Time on ground isn't super great. I think it's like 68 something, 61, 68. I think something like that. Might be more. I can't remember, but I think he's the best this week. I think he's fine to pass on. He really annoys how I have Durden as well, plus the 102k back forward. So it really annoys my structure, but it'll only be for 2 weeks. So I'm not fielding him, but I'm happy to grab him. I think he's the best option this week, but if you want to pass, no issues. But I think there's enough evidence to say he might be okay. 270s, he should make at least 100k with, I don't know, 255. So... And I think his job security is okay because he's played himself into the team and he's playing better than Rankin. So,
yeah. Which, I mean, it's fortunate that Rankin's in the team because he takes the best small defender and Roses gets second best at the moment, which I think probably helps him a little bit. But yeah, they've got a somewhat tough schedule upcoming. Like Brisbane, Collingwood, Swans, which worries me as a small forward in a bad team.
Yeah, it does worry me a bit. Yeah.
Yep, and what George said before, him and Durden factor, they're going to be both guys you really probably don't want to field, and they're both going to be on your bench. And structure, a little bit annoying with the structure. The other one is Windhager from the Saints. I think we spoke about him not too long ago, and just don't think his job security is too great. What's he averaging? About 38 across the 2 games he's played. I just look Zach Jones. I just keep reading articles about him this week of him, with a massive return to the VFL. He can't be far away. And I just don't think there's a spot for a rookie like him in the side for too much longer. And plus, he hasn't scored too great, so I wouldn't be going near him. I don't think, if I can avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else to add. All right,
we're not going to talk about Flynn Perez.
Oh yeah,
go on. Actually, yep.
147k defender for North. He's had 2 pretty poor scores. So a 32 and a 41. So low average. I guess the big thing here, though, is with Hall going down, he got kick-ins in the 4th quarter, and it maybe, potentially opens up some disposals and some chip to your kick-to-kick game down back, with them seemingly looking like they're going to proceed with Zeeble forward. He is one that I guess you have to go a little bit blind faith on that his scoring is going to improve, but the job security seems to be okay. I guess it's a little bit like Roses, who's awkward to get into our forward lines. We're not really ready to get rid of a lot of the defender rookies at the moment either. So getting him into sides, I could see being quite awkward for a lot of people as well. But yeah, I guess that's probably the only other one that's worth considering this week. But yeah, a bit harder to go on him over someone like Roses, just given that Roses is cheaper and has 2 better scores in the system.
Beautiful. And then we better finish off with some vice captain and captain, although like last week, that worked a treat. I don't think we really need to talk too much about this, and that's one Jackson McRae at Mars Stadium. He must love space or something, because he averages about 150 down there in like 7 games, which is just stupid. So, yeah, I know that was the worst joke you've ever heard, JD. You don't have to tell me.
So bad. I wanted to do like one of those, like, Steele laughs, like the really over the top thing again.
Come on, man. He scored like, I don't know why Supercoach here. They've got Mars Stadium 6 games, 140, like 135 average, and then they've got a separate Mars Stadium with the 189. But before I do that math, that's got to be mid 140s average there. So I don't even care. If you don't have a loop, just put the C on him, man. I don't think it really matters.
You could have done some like Space Rover, Ruck Rover, Mars Stadium joke.
What else
there's material there.
I had nothing, man. I'm not a comedian. I don't pretend to be. Look, if he failed somehow, who's your backup?
McRae into Neil. Don't overthink it.
Yep.
If you have Steele, you could go Steele into McRae. Otherwise, pack up and go home. McRae into Steele. Oh, no, I mean McRae into Neil like everyone else.
Yep.
Just
Took doesn't really have the trust. Took doesn't really have the trust.
Needs to earn it back, yeah.
Yep.
And also Berry could be sent to him this week. Like realistically, they've used Berry in a quasi tagging role. Miller has been a little bit susceptible to it. So yeah, that could happen.
Cool. All right, boys. That's been well over an hour and 40 almost. And I don't know really still what I'm doing this week. And there's so many players in and out to decide. But that's the fun of this game, is trying to maneuver that. And this is the part of the season where it does start to sort of get enjoyable. You bring more good players into your team. You don't have to worry more about rookie roulette and George getting 2 tons on field from guys that, I mean, he'll say he deserved it, but I don't think me and JD will agree. But anyway, we'll be getting the good players in. So this is the fun part. And the boosts, like we didn't talk too much about the strategy there, but I think
boost your ass off now.
Boost the hell away, really. Like, just do it. So good to talk to you, boys.
Boost every week until you don't have any more now.
I might save one for the last. I might save one for the last buy.
Does anyone have
sponsored by Pfizer?
Have a joke about the boosts or not?
Give you as many boosts as you want.
Okay.
Boo.
Yeah, that's been it. We've spoken too much. I'm sick of this. So thanks for watching, guys, and listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.